one of my favourite lengths, if not my favourite length of forest track here in Sherwood Forest. It's certainly one of the best for invertebrates as well. A few large oaks here, a few old ancients, but it's the vegetation at the side of this ride that makes this a very attractive place to come and have a walk along. And if you want to look for invertebrates, you're going to find some. And there's one spectacular relative newcomer to this site, which I'm hoping to find today. I may not find the actual adult itself, but we will see traces of it, or at least something that's deposited and left behind. Now this isn't the moth that I'm looking for today. It is new to the county and new to Sherwood Forest, but that's individually because this is a silver wye, and it's been obvious as I've walked through this part of Sherwood Forest that there's been a very large overnight arrival. I'm now into double figures, and that's just moths that have disturbed or have come out of the grasses either side of the tracks. What's significant about my low double figure count is that if you scale it up across the whole of Nottinghamshire and then the whole of the UK, you'll know that probably tens of thousands of these have arrived overnight. Conditions have been really good for migration, and this is a common migrant anyway. I must admit I've been guilty in my sort of childhood past when I was looking for what I then regarded as rare species. If I saw a silver wye, it was just, oh, it's a silver wye, and it was almost a throwaway species. I tend to appreciate them a lot more now, and they're very much an indicator species to me. They're an indicator of what's happening overall. If you get an arrival of these, you'll often get an arrival of red admirals or painted ladies. I've not seen either of which today, but it's still a promising sign. It means that if you're running a moth trap on a night time, you can hope for and maybe expect other more rarer migrants to appear in that trap. But they're a very attractively marked moth, obviously named after that upside down sort of Y-like mark, but the moths themselves are beautiful in their various shades of browns. Freshly arrived migrants can be even paler than this, but this is generally the colour that they arrive in. Moths migrating over long distances don't become worn as many people imagine. They often arrive here in the UK absolutely in pristine condition, without a scale, out of place. But the first brood resulting from these moths that are arriving now will be much darker than this. And then as we get later in the year, they often become more grey overall in the tone of coloration. A common moth and an indicator species to me of migrant activity. But it's not the moth that I'm hoping to feature in this video. Some of you may have already gathered, being where I am in this part of Sherwood Forest, that the moth that I'm actually after is the Broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth. It's a moth which only recently, a few years ago, turned up here in Sherwood Forest and is now pretty much everywhere. Wherever we look for eggs or for larvae, and especially larvae feeding signs, we find it quite quickly. It's covered a big area. It's certainly not been introduced, and it's generally spread in the last few years, or the last 5-10 years, shall we say, out from its former stronghold and only site really where it ever occurred in Nottinghamshire of Clumber Park. It's now quite an easy find. In fact, it's probably the easiest larva or egg to find of any moth in this area of Sherwood Forest, honeysuckle is the favoured food plant, but in order to try and find or catch a glimpse of the adult, I need to stake out nectar sources like the red campion or pink campion there. There's some more around the corner, which is a regular nectaring spot. And I also need to stake out some of the bluebell stands while there's still a few bluebell flowers left. Hopefully one will turn up. It'd be nice if it does, but I can show you at least one egg in the eventuality that we don't see the moth. This particular track, which I'm at the start of, this is the Blackpool end of this track, runs into Clipsnell Quarter, and it offers perhaps the best chance of seeing an adult broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth nectaring at a range of flowers found along here. Sherwood, of course, is pretty crap for its floral diversity, but just about 50 yards down here on the right hand side there are some pink campion. There's some more pink campion about another 50 yards down on the left, and if we go further down into Clipsnell Quarter, there are the remains and what's left of this year's bluebells, all of which offers the opportunity or the chance to capture some footage of a nectaring broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth. I know of one egg, and I've been looking for eggs on the regular or favoured plants used by females over the last few years, and we'll see if we can track one of these beasts down in some form or other. We've been stood here for about 10 minutes checking where this small white is now nectaring the pink campion, but I'm obviously fairly close to a chiff-chaff nest because there's a adult alarm calling. It's probably just in this scrub and bramble at the side of me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work my way down the track, see if broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth happens to fly past, and we'll check out the next stand of pink campion. There's not lots of pink campion, so at least here broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moths, they're not spoiled for choice, so to speak, so you've got a good chance of finding one. But I don't think they're out in numbers of yet. There are two regularly used stands of honeysuckle here, and neither of them have got eggs on yet. It's further down where the egg is that I have found. Well, I've not been able to find or even see a broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth, but here's proof that they are indeed out and about. Beautiful lime green oval egg of a broad-bordered Bee Hawk-moth. If you really want to see one of these moths, bear in mind that the further south in the UK you go, the more forward the brood will be. So it's possible that even in the very southern counties, the first instar larva could be out, and then we have the telltale signs of the holes either side of the midrib in the leaf. It really is a very easy species to find if it's present at a site. And it's a species that you can survey and look for pretty much while ever there's leaves still on the honeysuckle, even late in the autumn. But now, this is the first of hopefully many eggs to be laid here in the coming weeks. It's a super moth and a super caterpillar too. Nice to see that these are firmly established here in Sherwood Forest and elsewhere in Nottinghamshire now.